left, where we were just checking if the snapshot had data, and if it does, then you could see this text here. Data was found on the phone. Hope it's also visible. And then now display the actual data, the posts themselves. So and we now return user list view builder, and we are going to use a separated one, so that after every item in the list there's a divider or a separator. So we use a list style. That list style will now have a title, which will be the title of the post. It will be a snapshot. It will come from the snapshot dot data dot. Let me first of all show you what's contained in that snapshot before we actually go into it. We just print it here. Or we consume it. Let me just print that here. So as you can see, inside that snapshot, there is instance of post, instance of, it's a list with instance of post. These are all the posts that are inside that list. So this has been created from this. After getting the data, you are calling the API for the posts, and then inside the response, there is a status code. We check if it's okay, which is represented by 200. Then after we check the post, we just decode the response body of the post, which will now give you the list containing the posts. Then we just decode it. After that, we map each post to a post, this variable here. It's a list of posts. We map it, and inside that map, there will be a JSON. Inside the response body, every item is a JSON, which contains as shown here. As shown, the response to that is as shown here. So if you this is in JavaScript, but it's still the same. So this is querying for one post, and that's where you'll get just one post. You get the ID, the title, the body, and then the user ID. But now you're querying for all the posts using this endpoint here, and then you get a list. This is a list which contains the ID, the title, and then the rest of the data, which is the body and the user ID. That's what you get after you query that data. So inside here, this is the same thing I've done. We're doing a post dot from JSON, then you're giving it that JSON data. Here, what you're trying to do, you are mapping whatever JSON you have received to a post. Is the class. Is a post. What is that class? Post is this class here, which has user ID, title, and a body. That's what the post expects. So when you call from JSON, this is what we'll do, because the data we're receiving is already in JSON. So we want to make an instance of post from JSON. So you get the user ID, you map it to JSON, then the user ID. The same will go for the title, the body, and the rest. So when now you call this data, when you print out the data here, that's where you're getting the list with an instance of post. That's why it's written instance of post, because every post now is an instance. Every data that came in from the query is now an instance of post, which is our model. So that's how the data looks like. So we want to iterate through the data and print out every single post and separate each item in the divider. So let's go and get the title. Data. Then you'll notice there's this index here. Index is just going to be used to get the particular instance of that post inside that list. So this is a list. So we just get that whatever data is inside there using index. Then we, because whatever is returned is an instance of post, we can use dot title and we get back the title, which is now this title here from the class post. And then the next thing we can add, this is like a subtitle, and we are gonna consume that part which has the body inside that JSON file, JSON response. Snapshot dot data, same index dot body. Yeah. So that this time we have the title, which is there, and then the subtitle. This is the text that appears below the title, which is defined to be the body of the post. So the next thing we'll look at smooth this. Then you create a separator. A separator is just simply something that can be used to separate. You can use any widget, but for a separator, it will be basically just use a divider to create a line between both of the top post and the bottom post. So we just add a divider. It's a widget called a divider, which just adds a horizontal line. There's also a vertical divider in case you might need to add a vertical line. Then item count. This one you give this item count data so that this list is being scrolled. The list already knows how many items you are going to be scrolling, so that the separators can be put between those items. So to get the data, because snapshot.data is a list, is what you do. Data is a list. So to get the length of a list in that, you just use .length like that, so that you'll get the total number of items in that list. So there you go. After, let me do some formatting there. So now you'll see the posts. That is one by the one, separated by a divider. Let me just add the color of this one so it can be seen from easily. Turn it to blue. These are, hope now you can see the divider clearly. So now that is just getting the data. What if you want to create or send data to the server? Now you call a create method. So let's create that. Let's create that here inside our API class. So let's say future. So it's also a future because this will make a query to the server and it won't be a response. The response will have to wait for it. So you use an async to make it an async function. So now this is the response because your wait. So now you plug in your wait because now we are waiting for the post to be done, for the data to be sent to the server. Then the URL is let me get the URL for this. It's still the same. Let me just copy this, paste it here. Then for a post, you would expect it to have a body, Let me scroll here. Yeah, and you can see you would expect to have a body. Uh, Although these are optional fields, but since you want to send actual data, so you would put a body. For the headers, these are optional for this API. So let's just use a body. And then the body it's expected to be JSON. So first of all, create that dummy data to be added to the server. Normally, this would come from a button. We start by creating a button to add that. Uh, I don't want to create another widget, so let's just add that button here on the scaffold. Let's add a floating button just here. So let's go floating. It's a floating action button. And then on pressed, we just create that as that. We'll add that function that will be called. So the child now it's I wanna call that compressed 2 times code. Let's just create one that there is the button. So now let's add a child. Let's add an icon inside it to symbolize that we are creating something. Then icons dot add. Icon on the button there, and then on press this is now where you want to call the action to add the post. So let's first of all create a dummy post. I will not be creating a whole form for the dummy for adding a post. So a post will require data that will be. We're just creating a class for an instance of the class post. So an instance of the class post expects user ID, an ID, title, and a body. But in this instance, see what we need when you're creating a so when you're creating a resource for it, it just needs a title, a body, and the user ID. So that's what we're gonna add. Where is that? Yeah. So it's a post. A post will expect, as you have seen, there is a user ID. A user ID. Since they are not named, let me just turn them into named so that you can get. By adding those, you have already turned them into named parameters so that you can easily see what you're adding here. So user ID, it's just clear one. A user ID is complaining because it expects an int. So we put it as an integer there. And then, since the ID is not required when you're creating a post, let's just make that an option. So ID now is optional. Just do a Google search for that. That class. So an optional class we just create using so this is what we need. Position optional parameter. You wrap it in square brackets. I'm still getting errors. Okay, let me just remove this positional thing. So that would work now. So we'll have to put the user ID, the title, and the body. The ID is optional. So I'll come here, since it's no longer named parameter, let me just put the ID straight. That's one. And then the next thing is the title. It's just added today. And the body is also a string of random text, some words, with some text. So that's the post now. But you need to turn this into JSON before you even send it to the server. So let's create a function here that does that for us. This one takes in the result is a map. A map basically looks like a JSON. So it's a map which will have a string. And then whatever I put here is dynamic because times we have an integer, at times it's a string. So let's turn that data to JSON. Then you will be, this is what you will get. Now you have the user ID, a string, user ID, which will be equal to user ID. And then we have title, which is the title of the post. And then we have body, which is the body of that post. So that is already done for us. Let's now come here. We turn this post into a JSON so that you can send it as the body. So post dot JSON. Then pass in the post. No, don't pass in anything. To just pick from the post, this post here, created here. So now let's add that function that will do the adding of sending the data to the this function here. So this one will take in post, which now will be the post that we are adding. Then let's add the body. And body will accept, will expect it to be JSON. So JSON record that. Yes, that. Then we'll be waiting for the response. For create, you'll get to 201. So we'll check if the response status code is 201. 201. It is. It's going to show a message. The post was added. Let's return a string. Let's see what the response is for this post. When you create a resource, the response is that's the output. So we'll be getting back a JSON. So response dot body. Well, just only code this. Then the source is response dot body. In the event of anything else, let's just print that. In the event of any other response code, let's just print, let's say, so now we have the ability to create a post. So come here now. Inside this, when this button is pressed, this is the post to be adding. Normally we'd create a form, but for sake of time, let's just add it directly here. We'd call that this function create post, which is inside post API. So post API dot so there's that. Yeah. A class and access it using that. Then we create the post, which now the post like that. Since this will give you a future, you can just equate this to a response so that you consume the future. It's a variable equals to result. Now variable result equals to a variable that. So we want to show a message that the post was actually saved. So since this is a future, we have a then method. And this will be the response. This is now what we are consuming down there. Whatever is returned, we should have also returned something here. Just in case there's nothing that, because the method gives you a different status code, and let's return that. I'm returning that string so that we can show it as a like a toast. So value can be anything. So that's what we'll be consuming here. So result dot then then the response, then we consume that response. So let's just show a scaffold. Let's show us scaffold. So this, I don't know if you can see that class there. We move it to the other side. What basically there's a widget for showing like a snap bar or a toast for whatever we have under that scaffold we are in already. So this is how you create it: a scaffold dot of context. That means the context we are in already. Then show the snack bar. Then we create a snack bar for it. So this is how it works. Scaffold messenger dot of context we are in. Then going to show a snack bar. Then going to show the snack bar, which now will take the just scroll here, show scaffold of context, so that snack bar, then snack bar. Then the concept is the text itself. So now the text we want is the response you get from creating the post part. Passing the content expect for widget. So I'm just putting a text. Then for this text, we will now consume the response. We just say data added. This is supposed to go inside here. Content. Add commas, and after every widget you will get a nice your code will be formatted nicely so that you can see where every widget comes to an end and another starts. So let's show this scaffold. This is a 10. This then expects. This is the come back. For now, let me just let's refresh that, and then click on this add. So on the API, as you can see here, the resource will not be really updated on the server by to be effective. So we'll just get a response, but nothing will actually be added on the server. Let me clear this so that you can see the messages as the ones that we have sent. 954. Oh yeah, there's an error there. So I'll reload it, clear this console, and make this messages. You clear the console, and then so if you click that button, as you can see, the scaffold there was called added, because that means the data was passed. You can just see the data itself. It's just do rest. But you can see the data. This will be in the format. This will be the format of the data. So let's click that again to clear this. It's expected a string. So let's just turn this into a string. Uh, the data that is coming in into that text is not actually a string. It's like a JSON. It's JSON formatted. So let's just use that trick here to turn into a string. Then you click the button again. There, you get back the ID 101. Let's print this here in the console. Let's close this. Let's close this. Then this. Close the dot. That's there. We just print this to the console so that you can see the output as it happens. So this is the 10. Close there. Let me just revert this. There's a bracket that I've lost. This is to string. I hope the snapper can be seen. I'm just trying. Let me just okay. We just add a little more duration on it. So let me just say like 5 seconds duration, which is 5 seconds. Seconds 5. If I click on this button here to add, then you'll get the ID back. That means it has been added. It's 101 now. So that is how you create a post. But now in this instance, you have just added this post directory here for reward application. Add it inside a form. but for now, let's just have it there. So uh, let's also create a way to delete the data in case you want to delete it. Let's add our trading buttons here. This also will not happen really in the server, but it will just be it will look like it has happened. So inside our list, I raised my lister here. You can also add an action, which is you can add it as a trading action. And what you want to do is create an icon button, just an icon that will start with that first. Then you want to delete, so use an icon dot hash. That's not just trying to add an icon to symbolize that you are deleting. And it's supposed to be trash. So that will add a delete button at the far end of the list type there. So if you click this, it does nothing right now. So let's make it do something. Let's create a function for deleting. This is also a future. And what it does, it just deletes a post. Then what you'd pass in is just uh, the ID of the post you want to delete. So let's just say ID. Create a response for it. Then you wait the data to be deleted. http.delete. http. So what this takes is just the URL. So this will be our URL here. Then we need to add the ID at the end. So let's see, for deleting a resource, yeah, you have to add the ID at the end. So our ID will be passed here. It's passing our ID. And this is a string, you can just add the ID here. Then the final URL would look like this. Whatever the value of the ID is, that's what the final URL would look like. So let's now consume the response. For a delete action, the response will have a status called 204. So response dot status called goes to 204. That means the data was deleted successfully. And let's just return success message. So this is what the API actually does return when you delete a resource. Oh, there's no response, but you can just check the status code. So let's say run that text, delete. Then in case there is any error, now this is where you handle your errors. You'd say not to delete. Okay. Normally, you utilize your error codes right here. Error codes that will be returned by the API. You utilize them here and consume them, so you can show the appropriate errors in your app. So here is the icon that you want to press, and so post API. When I click that button, I want to delete the post and the ID of the post. So remember the snapshot data, it has an ID. So this is where I will be getting our ID from. Yeah. So this will just delete. Let's just see what happens after you delete it. So uh, see the result. We quit that since it's a future that returns something after response is done. So result dot then is where you now consume your your response. Let's add the same scaffold, the snack bar message. That's what we want to show when deletion is successful. Let's add this scaffold here. Then, since you'll be using a value here, whatever you put here can be anything. Value to string. So let's click that delete button and see if you'll get a deleted message back. Mm, yeah. This one expected an int. Type int is not a subtype of string. That happened here. So remember when you are calling this post, this instance, this data is an integer. So what you need is to turn that integer into a string. So you come here, you do string. So that will just turn the integer into a string. Now let's do the deletion again. Yeah, it says not deleted. So why is it not? This is what was returned, not deleted. What could be the issue? Now the API doesn't allow us to delete. I can't be sure what is returned here. Let me just plug in one and see what happens. The API still responds with the same thing. So I guess it's that thing that says here the resource is not really updated. The same thing that happened when he added the create thing, and nothing was actually added into our list here. So the API is just for testing. But for in a normal, when you are now doing a delete, that's how you pass in the data. For a patch, it's the same. It looks the same as the post, but now for patch is just patch or update. It looks the same as that. Like it looks the same as the post. create post one, but now you'll be passing in. This will now be it, but it will have the body, and also there'll be a post this URL. But now when you are doing a patch or a post or a put, that is when you are updating the resource, you pass in the resource that you want to update. That's why for this one, for this instance here, there's this one here. The one means you want to update the resource where the ID value is one. So for this, you do string. So here we'll be passing in the post, the one that you want to update, the data itself, that is the title and the user ID and the body, and then the ID itself, or the ID for the post that you want to update. What is the response status for post an update? So if you want to check that, there's a website that has all those status codes. When you're developing for an API, is this. If you want to check out every response code that you can get, this is where you get it from. This is a success, so I guess a put will give you. Let me see. It's okay. This created. This is for successful creation occurred via either post or put. Yeah. So that the response code will be a 201. So you check for a 201. That's there. You'll get the same data body as you get using a post. That is the ID, the title, the body, the user ID. That's what you'll be getting back. So yeah, that concludes our API consumption data sessions. Uh, Over to you, Simon. If there's any questions, I can take them now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, I've been following up, and it was one of the best sessions. I really appreciate so much. Uh, this marks the end of Flutter sessions. Uh, we began with the installation of setting up the environment. We came to state management. From state management, we moved to I think the provider. Okay, we also touched widgets, and now we are done with consuming REST APIs in Flutter. Uh, as I had said earlier or in the previous session, that when you get deep in programming, you'll never avoid or do away with APIs, because you find that you have to build an application or a platform that consumes data from other sources, and now for you to make good use of that data, you you have to write an API for you to get the resources from other points, or what do we call it, uh, from another server. So thank you very much, Chege Brian. Chege Brian is tech lead at DSC Chuka. Lead at DSC Chuka, and he has been taking us through Flutter from installation, Flutter Doctor all the way. So what we've been doing. So in case there is question, I can see you have Clinton, you have Nikki, you have Sosu, you have Milton. You're free to ask any question as we come to the end of. Anybody with a question? But I hope I'm audible. So I wanna appreciate Chege and also this guy by the name Clinton Paul. Clinton, you've never missed any session. I appreciate that. I recognize that and we do appreciate. Yes, I can see my friend from Nigeria. Oh, boom. Welcome. We are done with the meeting. Well, we've been doing consuming REST API in Flutter and we are just done. So, guys, is there a question? Or, yeah, anybody can unmute. You're free to unmute yourselves. You can unmute yourself. Clinton, are you in a position to unmute yourself? What about Nikki?
I don't have a question.
Okay, nice. Nikki, can you say hi?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yeah,
So you can
sorry, I
just
didn't know the meeting was at this time. But it's okay, it's okay. Thanks for acknowledging me. Simon shared the meeting and I wanted to join because I really want to hope the record will be available. I want to learn about
yes.
everything at Flutter.
Well, we've been
I
recording,
thought
so
I
I'm
just
gonna
post it on
I'm gonna
YouTube.
give you the it's on YouTube.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, you did something very good. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much, Obum.
Yeah.
I think he's from Nigeria. Am I right?
Yes, you're very right.
Okay. Are you guys accessing Twitter or you are in
Are
darkness?
we? No, we have lights.
I'm
Well,
using VPNs.
so it's
Okay.
actually something to laugh at. But I used to between our generators or some places solar. Like my school here, we have solar. Like the school mounted
Okay.
solar in some schools.
Okay.
But
I
when
meant like, are you guys accessing Twitter via VPNs or
yeah,
you're just
VPN now.
somewhere?
Hey,
Okay.
it's a serious something. Oh. You must use
Okay.
VPN.
Nice, nice, nice. Well,
Yeah.
Nikki, can you hear us? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can introduce yourself because I think you are DSC lead, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Go
Um,
ahead.
I am Nicholas. I'm from Chuka University.
Oh, nice, amazing.
I
Okay.
joined
What
the
about?
meeting late.
No worries. I think maybe you are are you the ones doing a cut?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thanks man for joining.
Okay.
What about Kennedy?
Good afternoon.